Hey everybody, I'm Chucky. This is Jason. We're here at Red Rocks Race and Sportsbook for the sports betting podcast Bookends. And it's, I guess I should say, the Race and Sports Betting podcast Bookends because it's Derby week. So it's exciting. It's the 148th Run for the Roses, Jay. It's going to be a packed crowd in here both Friday and Saturday. We're excited about it. And there's a lot of interesting storylines going on for this race.
Yeah, and we're really excited about having it back, specifically from a Nevada standpoint. It's back and it's pari-mutuel. It's been 2.5, 3 years, obviously, with COVID and Derby getting moved to September. But we didn't have it pari-mutually. We've got it back. We're happy to have it back for the next several years under the agreement and looking forward to having Churchill Downs and obviously one of the most exciting 2 minutes in sports back. And you can see the monster screens behind us come Saturday in that close to 4 or 5 o'clock hour. It's going to be absolutely awesome to be watching the race on these big screens.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if you're a $2 bettor or a $200 bettor. When it's on all these screens and the horses are thundering down the stretch, just kind of the atmosphere, the excitement, the buzz in the room, it's like being at Churchill Downs that day. It's super exciting. If you haven't experienced it, you have to come down. I mean, it's a great experience. It's like being at the track. And before we kind of get into the race itself, I mean, we have kind of the two big twin Qs going on this weekend too. A $10,000 twin Q on Oaks Day and the big $20,000 twin Q on Derby Day. And the late, great Brian Blessing, my close friend, used to always say about these twin Qs for a $2 bet from matchsticks to, what do you say, matchsticks to, I can't remember what the actual phrase it was, but you can win a lot of money with a $2 bet. So, I mean...
and the Kentucky Derby, not even with our twin Q, the Kentucky Derby itself between trifectas and superfectas. I mean, you talk about coming down and just placing a lottery ticket. These are some big payouts that potentially happen. And it is supposed to be a little bit rainy at Churchill Downs and in Kentucky there. So maybe a little bit of them running in the mud. Maybe that opens up some of the... prices and some long shots to be able to win this race. And outside of the promotions for the twin Qs, we have great drink specials. And come down and get a mint julep. You'll see a lot of ladies wearing their Kentucky Derby hats. So it's just a fun, exciting atmosphere around the book all day on Saturday.
Kind of a cool step and repeat. We can get some pictures taken. We can post them on social media as well. That's kind of a fun day. Epicenter, one of the horses in the race, has the Las Vegas ties, of course, and is getting a lot of ink. He's won 4 of his 5 starts. He's sitting kind of in the inside post, I think, at number 3. So he's got a little bit of a difficult task, I think, overall. Had he been, more in that middle, he would have been an overwhelming, or he would be the favorite in this race. But he's sitting 3 right now.
Yeah, drawing that 3 hole is not the best. Obviously, we talk about a 20-horse race where potentially to get galloped in the field and then have a tough run at it. Zendon's gone to the favorite in the race, running out of the 10 hole. He's had incredible works this week at Churchill Downs, a lot of fast times and all the clockers and everybody that's at Churchill Downs. This horse just looked absolutely fantastic. And one of the other stories for me, the biggest story of the Kentucky Derby this year is somebody that's not going to be at the Kentucky Derby, Bob Baffert, who is a 6-time, potentially 7-time Kentucky Derby winner, but we're going to officially put him as a 6-time Kentucky Derby winner. Banned from the race for the next 2 years of what happened with Medina Spirit a year ago and some medication that the horse was on. Not at the race. The owner of Medina Spirit, obviously stripped of the win, Medina Spirit. He's got Tabia in the race, who was the Santa Anita Derby winner. There's some unique circumstances of this horse. He's only run twice. He ran in a March 5th
trying to be
race.
the first horse ever to win on his 3rd start, win the Derby.
Third start in the Kentucky Derby. So a really interesting storyline there to see if that horse can make some waves and a really inexperienced horse. And he's super inexperienced, but he's got the most experienced jockey in Mike Smith on the top of him. So we go from an inexperienced young horse to the oldest jockey in the field. And for me, I'm looking at, again, trying to stay away from those favorites. I would say, to me, Epicenter really does look like the best horse in the race. You talked about it, winning 4 of the 5 races, but coming out of the 3 hole becomes very difficult. And I'm going to go to a horse that has a post that's even more difficult in the 3 hole. And I'm going to take a look at Mo Donegal, who's running out of the 1 hole, right on the rail there. He was the Wood Memorial winner. Going to be somewhere in that 10 to 15 to 1 range. If he can get a good trip and things roll right, I'll take a chance with Mo Donegal.
I'm going to look at Crown Pride. I think you look at the trying to be the first Japan-bred thoroughbred to win it, but only 2 horses in this field have actually gone the distance of the Derby. We know it's a long race, and they're Epicenter and Crown Pride. So I think those 2 horses, I like the odds on Crown Pride too. You're going to get a pretty good price on that horse, so it's going to be fun. I mean,
and that's the Japanese horse. There's a real international flair. There's 5 French jockeys that are going to be running. 3 of them normally run in the United States throughout their time, but we got two other international jockeys that have made their way to the Kentucky Derby. So again, adding that international flair and the lineup of horses is just absolutely fantastic here.
We will find out, tomorrow afternoon who the contenders are and who the pretenders are pretty quickly.
Yeah, not to just dismiss the Kentucky Derby. There's a lot of other really good races on the card, a lot of good races throughout the day. So don't just come in for the Derby. Try and spend some time here. Enjoy
Great
the rest
stakes
of the
races, and as you mentioned, all the drink specials are really cool as well.
Yeah, it just makes for a great day to come here and make a day of the races. And if it's not something that you've exposed yourself to a lot, again, writers very friendly. Come up to the counter, help you write your tickets. You can spend some time at the kiosks to where you don't feel any pressure. You can and kind of dilly-dally at the kiosk and get your bets in.
With that said, we love when you guys come out and enjoy everything we have to offer, but we always talk about STN Sports, but it's a great time to actually open up the race side of it and put money in the account and kind of have fun. We know there's going to be a lot of crowds here and a lot of things going on. You don't even have to come up to the counter. You can still be in the room, enjoy everything we're doing, and just bet off the app, which is a good thing.
And those of you that have the STN Sports app, you're not going to be automatically have that race side of the app. You have to actually sign up for a race account, get yourself set up with a race account. It's very easily done. Team members here in the book can get it done in less than 5 minutes for you if you want to be able to bet the race throughout the day on your app on the race side, but you do have to set up a separate account for that.
Yeah, so it's really cool to kind of have that too, you guys. So we've kind of talked about the race, the big race weekend, as Jay mentioned. We're excited to have it back from the Vegas side of it, or the Nevada side of it, Parimutuel. We've got NBA and NHL playoffs going on as well. NHL playoffs, every series is tied 1-1 except 2, and that's Carolina, who's up 2-0, and Colorado, who, watching those games against Nashville, this looks like the ice is tilted. That team is so fast and so good right now. They're the favorite. Both Florida and Carolina look good in the Eastern Conference as well. And it's kind of, strange to be talking about the NHL playoffs and not talking about our Golden Knights. We know it's going to be a kind of an interesting offseason. Right now, we've heard that, both coach and GM are going to be back. From a player side of it, I think there's going to be some changes, but kind of strange not talking about VGK. But NHL playoffs are going on right now, and some really, really great series with all of them tied at 1-1 except 2 series.
Yeah, I think we're going to see some 7-game series come out of this first, and we talked about it. We've been talking about it for the last several weeks, just the incredible balance that we have in the Eastern Conference. Obviously, Carolina jumps to the 2-0 lead over Boston, but Washington's able to steal a game on the road. Tampa's able to steal a game on the road. The Penguins and Rangers playing epic 3 overtime first matchup of that. We saw Dallas able to go into Calgary, win a game. The Kings going to Edmonton, win a game. So these are going to be some really good series, and I think that it's just going to kind of build as we go on. Not to mention the Blues and Wild, steal a game, and then the Wild are able to come back. So these are going to be great series. We continue to add a lot of props, trying to really push the envelope on what we're offering from an NHL standpoint, and we're really doing the same thing on the other side of the playoffs on the hard court. Looking at the amount of props that we're offering in both the NBA games, all the NBA series. These series have been a little bit more touch and go. The injury question marks have been a challenge for us to get these games up. Obviously, with Embiid being one of the key ones for Philadelphia, being out and watching Miami kind of run through them these first 2 games, we're expecting Embiid to make his way onto the court for Game 3. Middleton out for the Bucks. Marcus Smart found his way out for the Celtics.
Looks like he might be back, though, Marcus Smart, in the next game. I think Middleton's going to miss at least 2 more games is what they're saying right now. But, I mean, it's fun when you look at the NHL, though, and how good some of these teams are. And the playoffs are a different animal, but playoffs, the overtime in hockey has got to be the most exciting thing. As you talked about, what an epic overtime between the Rangers and Penguins, 3 overtimes. We had Nashville and Colorado go into overtime. That becomes, it's not good for your heart. If you got to bet on those, because overtime, I mean, it is when it ends. Just so different than during the regular season.
Nah, it's you have to actually absolutely love it. And I think that these matchups, again, we're going to see a lot of them, and you can already see in several of these series, it normally takes till we get to a Game 5 or a 6 or Game 7 where you start to see some chippiness, and we're in Game 2s, and you're already seeing these teams have a natural dislike for each other as we enter this playoffs.
It's because the way hockey playoffs are structured, you are playing teams in your division that you have played at least 5 times during the regular season. So there is some bad blood there. There is some chippiness there, and it carries over now because winner moves on, loser goes home. So I'm not a big fan of it. I still prefer 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7. So the 2 best teams in each conference can meet. but hopefully it works out that way. But you're right, a lot of chippiness in the NHL right now.
I didn't start my playoff beard. I think with no nights, I can't make the argument for the playoff beard. So we'll stay clean shaven for the rest of the playoffs.
You know, and it's such a fun weekend too. It's not just NHL and NBA playoffs. We talked about the Kentucky Derby and how exciting that is from the race side, but you've got both UFC and then you've got a big fight too with Canelo Alvarez this weekend.
Yeah, he's a pretty big favorite, kind of laying that $6 price. We'll see if B-Ball's got a chance. I mean, we are getting some money on him with a puncher's chance. He doesn't throw a lot of punches, so he's going to have to throw one kind of big haymaker.
All it takes, though. All it takes.
You know, I think Canelo is going to outpoint him, so you're going to be looking for him probably by knockout if you think that the upset's going to come down there.
Right, and I think the cool thing, too, is you can come in the afternoon, you can watch the race here, and then we're going to be showing the Alvarez fight in Rock, so you can go over there and watch the fight that night as well. So a lot going on from the racing sportsbook side this weekend. And we have to talk about baseball, too. I mean, we're through the first month right now. Not a whole lot of surprises. For me, maybe the two biggest surprises in baseball are Twins and Angels, who both lead their divisions right now. White Sox and Astros were the two favorite in the American League. And the fact that the Diamondbacks are 13-13 now and 7-3 in their last 10 games. They looked, really bad the first 3 weeks of the season. They're playing well. Biggest disappointment is the White Sox. I think I know a lot of injuries, but the fact that they're really treading water right now and behind both the Guardians and Twins, White Sox kind of have to right the ship pretty quick.
Well, my big surprise is the New York Mets coming off. We see them score 7 runs in the 9th inning just last night against the Phillies to pull an epic comeback. But really, for me, not that it's necessarily a surprise, but it's the two New York teams leading the division, really playing good baseball.
Expected to be there, though.
And then the two LA teams with the Angels and Dodgers both leading their divisions. Bettors have been doing very, very well in baseball so far. Obviously, with those teams winning, and obviously from an Angels and Dodgers as we sit here at West Coast baseball, with those teams continuing to win. But to me, the biggest from a sports book standpoint, the biggest disappointment or collapse or whatever is the Cincinnati Reds. And
right.
I know that you guys that are out there watching have been cashing tickets on a
right.
on a daily basis.
On a frequent basis.
As we sit here today, the Cincinnati Reds are 3-22. And of those 22 losses, they've covered the run line 3 times. So 19 of their 22 losses, they've lost by 2 runs or more. And they're like have allowed like 137 runs. Their like run differential is like 87 87 more runs allowed than what they've scored. I mean, they're just the absolute basement of Major League Baseball. The only good thing that we have going for us in the sportsbook with the Cincinnati Reds is over the next 11 days, they play the Pittsburgh Pirates 8 times. So hopefully, and 4 of those are at home. They actually play a doubleheader tomorrow. And then 4 of those are on the road. So hopefully the Cincinnati Reds can find their way, because we're really looking at a team that is on pace to be the worst baseball team of all time.
Right.
Somewhere
They're still
in that 40
projected to win more than that, but you're right. If you projected it out right now, they would be the worst team ever in the history of baseball.
Yeah, and that's not exciting to see. It's not exciting to watch, and it is exciting probably on the other side of the counter, because it's throw the opposing team in your parlay, and it's an easy winner. And obviously what they're doing on the run line is absolutely ridiculous, as you're getting most of the time you're getting the other team on the run line a pick 'em or even a plus money price.
On the flip side, you look at the Dodgers, who as well as they're playing, they pretty much, when they win, they cover the run line. So it's kind of fade the bad teams, play the good teams right now. We're kind of already seeing that separation in MLB that we normally would see after the All-Star break or later in the season. But right now, it's really kind of fade those bad teams, play the good teams. And as you mentioned, every parlay pretty much is a bet against the Reds right now.
And the other big thing with baseball through this first month has been the adjustment on over-under runs. I mean, commonly we were booking more 8.5s and 9s. And obviously with the DH, the American League and National League, there's not that separation of the total, but we're booking a lot of 6.5, 7.5s, with just the batting averages and home runs being dramatically down over the first month. So you've seen those totals trend down.
Yeah, this is one of the worst years to start that we've seen in a long time. I think since the dead ball era, they called it. There just hasn't been that run production. I know that they're treating the balls differently. I think all the baseballs go into a humidified kind of system at the ballparks. Not sure if that has anything to do with it. Some years we've seen kind of at the All-Star break, it changes a little bit. We know it's been cold in a lot of these cities right now, but these guys, balls that we think are out, are warning track balls right now. So I think that's why you're seeing a lot of these low totals as well.
Yeah, hopefully, whether it's a change in the balls or a change in the weather, hopefully we can get a little bit more balance. And, a team like the Kansas City Royals has got 70, despite the fact that Cincinnati's 3-22,
right.
They've scored 79 runs. The Kansas City Royals have only scored 70 runs. So their record's a little bit better, but really another team that's struggling to put runs on the board.
A lot of it's based on who they're playing too early on in the season. So we've kind of touched on a lot that's going on, but we want to just go back to last week really quick and want to thank all you guys that came out for our kind of get drafted at Red Rock Pro Football Draft Party. It was great having Coach Mike Tyson and Corey Chavis here. We had the draft caps, a lot of cool giveaways, a lot of media coverage. It was phenomenal. We're going to do a lot more stuff like that to bring you guys in to kind of have some fun. So thank you guys again. And with that said, I mean, now's time. That for me kicks off football season. We've now put up regular season wins for every team, the divisions for every team, or for all the teams. We're looking at a bunch of different props, including some cool kind of rookie props that we're working on right now. But draft was great. It was interesting with some of the big trades with wide receivers that actually altered odds. We saw Tennessee trade A.J. Brown to the Eagles. Tennessee's odds went up. Philadelphia's went down. So there's been some interesting kind of trades that went on that really affected future book odds.
Yeah, and the rookie wide receivers class is just absolutely fantastic. So really looking at them. And then I think one of the other key trades, again, happening in the NFC was for the New Orleans Saints to get Olave there,
right?
Big defense, and potentially, obviously, with the way Carolina and Atlanta are built, can they go steal that division from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? That's another big move, and I think that we're going to see also this AFC West, what the Raiders can do as in one of the probably toughest divisions in football, with obviously Russell Wilson moving over to Denver. A lot of interesting questions and probably some interesting props we're going to be able to put up there.
I think in the NFC East, too, the Eagles right now, the Cowboys were the favorite, but you talk about a team that lost Amari Cooper, lost Gregory, lost some guys in the trenches. Their draft was a little bit questionable with the direction that they went in. And this Eagle team now, who we talked about it, they won ugly. I mean, they didn't have an explosive offense. They ate a lot of clock. They ran the ball. But you've got Smith now in his second year. You've got Goddard at tight end. Hurts with another year under his belt, and you have A.J. Brown in the mix now, too. That's a pretty dynamic offense.
Yeah, and it was Tyrone Matthew was
Saints on defense, right.
To add him to the defense.
He goes home.
Heads back
he went
to
to
Orleans,
LSU,
right? At LSU, so a big pickup there. But, yeah, you said the Eagles become very, very interesting. What does A.J. Brown look like there? The other storyline is the Arizona Cardinals with Marquis Hollywood Brown going from the Ravens to the Cardinals.
And who was his collegiate quarterback?
With Kyler Murray. They both played at Oklahoma. And obviously DeAndre Hopkins, the potential suspension that's going to happen there for the first 6 games. So how does that go down? And obviously these two guys switching teams have incredible fantasy implications.
They absolutely do.
For those of you already preparing for your fantasy drafts.
And still no movement on Jimmy Garoppolo or Baker Mayfield. Still hearing rumblings that there's a potential even longer suspension looming for Deshaun Watson. As bad as the blood has been, and he's not affiliated with the team at all right now. Somehow does Baker Mayfield end up starting week 1 for the Browns because they have no other direction to go right now.
It'll be interesting to see, and that's another good reason to want to look at those over-under season wins and kind of pay attention to what's going on as we put all those up. We don't even have the actual schedules out yet. Right. We're expecting the schedules next week.
Yeah, we'll be able to talk about that on bookends.
We know who they're playing, but we don't know whether it's home and road. And some of the stuff's already been leaked. With some of the international games that we're going to see. But some work still to be done after we get that schedule out. And we are talking about once we see the schedule next week. Circling some what we call them key games and maybe putting up some early numbers for you guys to take a look at on some marquee matchups and key games as we see throughout the league.
And I think all the Raider games, we've done that the last couple of years, so I think you'll see lines probably right after that show of all the Raider games next year as well. So guys, it's going to be a fun weekend again. Run for the Roses, the 148th run for the Kentucky Derby. It's exciting from our side. You've got all these different options to bet at, all the exotics, the big twin Qs. Again, it's matchsticks to lumberyards, what Brian used to say. So, B, I miss you, but that was always his saying, man, for the twin Q. $2 bet, matchsticks to lumberyard. And he's right, for a $2 bet, you can win it. I've seen it before where we've had some big twin Qs. I remember a few years ago for the Triple Crown races, we had a $33,333 twin Q. We had one winner that day. So it can happen.
And if it doesn't hit on Saturday, it carries over to Sunday. So something to look out for if nobody's able to hit that, we'll have even a bigger Twin Q carryover on Sunday. And there, we touched on a little bit, but big boxing this week, big UFC this week. You said it, always a lot going on. Amazing that we're
NBA, NHL playoffs, baseball, all this football stuff going on right now. Come on in, have some fun. Don't forget, get signed up for SDN Sports. We still have up to that $100 bonus going on. You put $50 in your account, you get a really cool SDN Sports Stephen Money t-shirt, kind of a step and repeat in here now for the Derby. Great photo op for social media. So much going on, guys. We hope we see all of you guys this weekend. Get signed up for the app. I'm Chucky. This is Jason. Thanks for tuning in for the Sports Betting Podcast, Racing Sports Betting Podcast, bookends here at Red Rock.